So very good evening, good morning class. Today's our topic is parametric and non-parametric. What the differences between them? We'll understand here that what the concept of these two. Okay, so understand this when parametric and non-parametric test is applied. What where in this process it comes. So first that is hypothesis. Hypothesis कब होता है? After the objectives or the before the objectives? Everybody जल्दी से बताएंगे. Hypothesis comes under after objectives of the before objectives. Everybody in the steps of the research, you might have gone through these steps of the research. This is after objectives. Yes. So इसके ऊपर भी क्या होता है? Objectives होता है, right? Yes, exactly. Very good. So according to the objectives, we made the hypothesis, and the hypothesis is the two types, that is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. In the study, we take any of these two. Either we test the null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. In the null hypothesis, what we do, we apply the test, right? There is very less use of the test in the alternative. Basically, we use the apply the test in the null hypothesis, right? So null hypothesis is our alternative null hypothesis में हमारा hypothesis testing होता है. So hypothesis testing, it means that you are apply the statistical test. So what are the statistical test and which comes under what? That is, it is described by the parametric and non-parametric test, right? So here the use of the parametric and non-parametric concept it is, right? When you are going to use the statistical test in your to test the null hypothesis, okay? So हमारा पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक होता है. पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक में फिर आपका आता है दैट इज जेड टेस्ट, टी टेस्ट, एफ टेस्ट, एनोवा. ओके, सिमिलरली हियर in the non-parametric test, the chi-square, U test and H test. Okay, so what here importance as for the exam here, बहुत ही important क्या है यहाँ पे? यहाँ पे they will give you like here the T test. T test is an example of, you have to tell non-parametric or the parametric. So T test is an example of parametric test. Similarly, they will ask you that ANOVA is an example of parametric or non-parametric. So answer would be parametric test. Okay, so you have to remember and memorize the examples of parametric and non-parametric. So ये याद रखे, please keep in your mind that which example comes under which type of test. This is one important thing. Okay, next we'll understand that what basically the parametric and non-parametric. Okay, so parametric क्या होता है? Parametric is basically when parametric comes, when we use that, we have understood that when we going to test the hypothesis, that is null hypothesis, there we think about the parametric and non-parametric, right? When you go for the statistical test, applying the statistical test. Okay, so parametric tests are the based on the assumptions about the distributions of the population from which the sample was taken. जो भी आपका population है, you have drawn the sample from the populations. Okay, this is your population and this is your sample. You have drawn the sample from the population. So here it is saying that population from which the sample was taken, we will see that their distributions, how your population distribution is, right? So if that is based on the assumptions, about your distribution of the population, then it is called parametric. If it is just opposite, if it is not based on the assumptions, then that data is collected from a sample that does not follow the specific distributions. So we have got the two differences among the parametric and non-parametric, that is based on the assumptions. Okay, that is based on assumptions. If it is based on the assumptions, then it is parametric. If it is not based on assumptions, then it is non-parametric. Okay, so if question is asked to you in the form of assertion that parametric test is based on the assumptions about the distribution of populations, then it is the true assertion. Okay, if assertion is given that the non-parametric test is not based on the assumptions on the of the populations, right? So it is non-parametric test. Okay, so it is also the true assertion. सो ये चीजें आपको ध्यान रखना है, कब बेस्ड एजम्पशन अगर है तो पैरामेट्रिक है, नॉन बेस्ड एजम्पशन है नॉन पैरामेट्रिक है, राइट। द सेकंड डिफरेंसेस अमॉन्ग द पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक इट इज दैट इज the specific distributions, right? Here in the parametric there is a normal distributions. Okay, in the parametric there is a normal distributions. You may say that the distribution of the populations which is very normal, and when it is specific distributions then it is non-parametric. Okay, chaliye. It is, you may consider the type like the, जब हम पढ़ रहे थे probability and non-probability, where we are discussing probability where the randomly select the sample, and where the uh, purposively or the specifically select the sample, right? So that is non-probability. Similarly here in the parametric and non-parametric में भी आपको यही करना है, right? For an example here we can take that in the parametric test the height is roughly normal distributions, height of a group of people or the height of the sample, okay, that it will make the graph that is typical Bell graph ये बनाएगा आपका, और height this is roughly take normal distributions. Okay, in that if you were to graph height from a group of people, one would see a typical bell shaped curve. This is called distribution is also called गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, इसको हम गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी कहते हैं, ठीक है। सो गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशंस भी है इंपॉर्टेंट, प्लीज नोट इट, राइट। व्हेन इट इज कॉल्ड गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशंस, व्हेन इट मेड द टिपिकल बेल शेप्ड कर्व, अगर ये टर्म आता है, देन डेफिनेटली दिस इज व्हाट आल्सो कॉल्ड द गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशंस, ठीक है। गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बोलते हैं कब, जब आपका when graph would made the typical bell-shaped curve, then distribution of that population will be called Gaussian distributions. Okay, so we told you that example, that what the examples comes under, which type of test comes under the parametric test. So t test, j test, many more, ANOVA भी आपका इसी के अंदर आता है, right? So ANOVA is also comes under the parametric test, where we discussed about the Mann-Whitney and Kruskal values. It comes under the non-parametric test. Okay, so non-parametric test means the specific distributions and not based on the assumption. Okay, these two characteristics about the non-parametric test is applied here, that is specific distributions and not based on the assumptions. ठीक है, तो किस तरीके का population आपका distribution हो रहा है, how you are how the nature of your population it is, right? How the nature of the population it is distributed or specific distributed, it is based on the assumption or it is not based on the assumptions, and that on this basis we classify about the two tests, that is parametric and non-parametric. Okay, chaliye आगे we'll understand more about it this, because you will understand the concept about the parametric and non-parametric. Don't worry if you have not understood. See here, ANOVA का मतलब क्या होता है? ANOVA, that is comparing the means of more than two sample. If the definition is given and it is asked to you that what is known as, right? What the terminology of the test. Okay, so definition if it is given, you have to understood that by looking over this definition what the term will be. Okay, so when you are comparing the mean of the two sample or more than two sample, एक sample है दूसरा sample है, okay, sample 1 and sample 2, right? There are two samples and you are comparing between these two samples or more than two sample. If you are comparing, then it is ANOVA you will apply it. Okay, if there is a compare objectives, if your objectives would be compare between the two samples, then it will called as you are going to apply the ANOVA test. Okay, so ANOVA test will come under which type of test? Everybody जल्दी से बताएंगे. ANOVA type of test will come under which type of test? Parametric or non-parametric? P or NP? Everybody? Yes, that is P. Okay, yes, very good. Similarly, chi-square test, everybody जल्दी से बताएंगे. Chi-square test would come under which? Chi-square? Yes, that is NP. Okay, very good. Now t-test will come under t-test and z-test. Yes, that is parametric. Okay, so this is what about that we are discussing that कि हमारी पैरामेट्रिक में कौन कौन सी टेस्ट एग्जांपल्स होंगे टेस्ट के लिए और नॉन पैरामेट्रिक में क्या क्या होंगे. सी हियर वी वर डिस्कसिंग काई स्क्वायर. सो काई स्क्वायर इज व्हाट? काई स्क्वायर क्या होता है? Chi square that testing the goodness of fit to an assumed distributions. There is an expected value, there is an expected value, and there is an observed value. Okay, you find the association between these two value. Okay, so difference that what the associations of the two variables is not. अब दो variable है, there is two variable, right? And you want to see the association between the two variables, then and your expected value, the researcher expected value, and observed value, that the differences between them what is coming. So that is you will find the associations between that two variables, and that is done by the chi-square test only. You may see that there is two on one term also, that is critical value and calculated value. Okay, so what is critical value? Critical value is already given on the level of significance. Level of significance are there 0.05, 0.01, right? Different level of significance are there. On the basis of level of significance and the degree of freedom, you find the critical value. It is already defined and it is given. Okay, already it is given on the basis of your row and table. How many row are there? How many tables are? How many columns are there? On the basis of your row and your column, it will give the degree of freedom, and when degree of freedom is calculated, so on the basis of degree of freedom you find the critical value on the particular level of the significance. That is what the critical value. Okay, and what the calculative value? Calculative value is your observed value, right? Calculative value is your observed value. So simply you understand that simple in the simple word that chi-square test defines the association between the two variables, that how these two variables are associated. Okay, is there associations or not, or is or if it is associations, then what the a calculated value and what the critical value it is, and on the which degree of freedom and which level of the significance it is associated. Okay, so that you have to also determine. So this is what about the chi-square test. Okay, so F test, it is comparing the variance of the two samples, right? Two samples, S2 and S1. Here you are comparing the two samples, that is with the variance. Here the variance, by the variance you are comparing the two samples, then it is F test, and by the means you are comparing, then it is ANOVA. Please, the differences are there. दोनों में differences है. Please note it down. The slight differences are there. Here you are comparing by the mean, and here you are comparing by the variance. Okay. Here you are comparing by the mean between the two samples, between the two samples or the more than two samples, and here you are comparing the samples by the variance between the two samples. Okay, so that is what the F test. थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस, अगर वेरिएंस आ गया, ठीक है, तो ये चीजें आपकी क्या हो जाएगी, एफ टेस्ट आ गया और सिर्फ दो सैंपल है तो, if only two sample, if it is, and you are comparing, right, the variance of the two samples, then it is F test. When you are comparing more than two samples, okay, by the means of samples, then it is ANOVA. Okay, T test, that is comparing the mean to a value or the means of the two samples. Similarly here, ठीक है, so अगर दो आपकी sample है, दो value है, and you are comparing the mean mean to a value and means of the two sample, then it is T test. So when T test is applied, when the ANOVA is applied, when according to your objectives of your study, basically it is applied. The lot of the things are there to understand basically the concept. So major concept what it is that you have to understand as for the exam. Okay, so Z test है, Z test as T test for the large samples. Okay, similarly if you go here and look on the chart which we have attached, so parametric, that how it is attached, there is one sample T test, there is two sample T test, right? Sorry, T test. Okay, two sample and one sample. Okay, जब आप पैरामेट्रिक को दो चीजों में क्लासिफाई करते हो, कैसे, one sample and two sample. Okay, it means you can also say that पेयर्ड सैंपल। ओके, ठीक है। यहाँ पे देखिए, यहाँ पे ये चीजें और क्लासिफाई किया गया है, पेयर्ड सैंपल। ओके, so this is what one sample, two sample in the parametric. When one sample it is on, you are testing, you are applying the test on the one sample, then you will t test or either z test. And when you are going to test the two samples, then it is independent sample and paired sample. And the paired sample means paired t test, and independent sample where the two group t test or the z test. So remember the chart in your mind, so no, nothing will be problem, nothing will create a problem. So this is very much important than when it is t test, when it is z test, okay, when it is paired t test. So remember this chart, take as a screenshot and solve the questions. Okay, similarly here the, अब दोनों का चार्ट थोड़ा सा इसका और क्लासिफिकेशन से इन द डिटेल इट इज क्लासिफाइड। ओके, सो विल रीड द चार्ट ओनली। ओके, चलिए, सो यहाँ पर देखिए, हाइपोथेसिस टेस्ट हमने यहाँ पे डिस्कस किया था, दिस थिंग इज क्लियर, पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक। ओके, द वन सैंपल एंड टू टेस्ट वुड बी इन द बोथ पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक, दोनों में होगा, राइट। Here the one sample, two sample from the parametric, and one sample and two sample from the non-parametric, right? So it would be clear till here. Now, after these classifications, one sample is classified here in the parametric test, that is t test or z test. Similarly, if we look in the non-parametric test, one sample is classified in 4, that is chi-square, right? Kolmogorov, Smirnov, and runs and binomial. This is what it is mainly important here, the chi-square. Mainly important here it is the chi-square, that is one sample non-parametric test. Okay, and when you discussed about the two test, so two test is classified as same in the both parametric and non-parametric, that is independent sample and paired sample. Similarly here in non-parametric also independent sample and paired sample. Okay, so independent sample is then classified into two group t test and z test. Okay, and paired sample, that is paired t test. Similarly here the when Wilson and when the median and it is Mann Whitney test, it is used under the this is independent sample। और ये सारी चीजें, ठीक है। तो ये चीजें आपको थोड़ा सा आपको क्लियर होना चाहिए, ठीक है, कि क्या कब टेस्ट किस कैटेगरी के अंदर क्या चीजें आ रही है, ठीक है। चलिए थोड़ा सा और डिटेल हम टी टेस्ट और एनोवा के बारे में देख लेते हैं, ठीक है। सो टी टेस्ट इज प्राइमरीली यूज्ड फॉर द रिसर्च विथ लिमिटेड सैंपल साइज, राइट। जब आपकी सैंपल साइज बहुत लिमिट हो, ठीक है, बहुत, जब आपका सैंपल साइज, व्हेन योर सैंपल साइज इज लिमिटेड, देन यू प्राइमरली यूज व्हाट, टी टेस्ट। ओके, टी टेस्ट, whereas Z test is developed for the hypothesis testing that required researchers to look at population size that's larger than 30. If your sample size is less than 30, then you are going to what, the T test. If the population size is that larger than 30, then you are going to apply Z test. Okay, similarly like the T test, ANOVA is also a parametric test that we have gone through and has on some assumptions, that ANOVA assumes that the data is normally distributed because it is come under the parametric test. And the parametric test we have learned that it is the population is normally distributed. When the population is specific distributed, then it comes under the non-parametric. When it is population normally distributed, it comes under parametric. So the ANOVA is an example of parametric test. That's why here ANOVA assumes that data is normally distributed, right? So ANOVA also assumes homogeneity of the variance, right? एक समान का variance होता है, there is not such different variance और heterogeneity nature नहीं होता है। nature जो है that is homogeneity, right? Which means the variation among the group should be approximately equal, right? There would not be the large difference, right? That will be approximately equal would be, okay? So this is what it assumes, the homogeneity of the variance. Okay, it means that no such variance will be, there would be approximately equal the variance among the group. That is what it's ANOVA. Okay, so ANOVA का अगर आता है, that is what ANOVA is, analysis of variance, right? Analysis of variance. Okay, so there is a group, a group 1 है, and group, how this is that among the groups that the variance कितना आ रहा है. तो there is again calculations to find the variance, right? So standard deviations are there. For the standard deviation, you find the mean, right? What would be the mean? And then you find the standard deviations. There is a formula to find the standard deviations and also the variance. Okay, so we do not go through the formula to find the standard deviation, the variations, because Spaces is that software where easily it is calculated. There is no need to apply it, automatically calculate and give you the data exactly. Okay, what the SD and what the variance and what the mean value. Okay, so there is no need to uh, go through the formula, but you have to know that what the formula is basically, right? चलिए नेक्स्ट हम आते हैं और यहाँ पे कुछ डिफरेंसेस देखते हैं, राइट? विल सी द डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन दिस. ओके, सो प्रॉपर्टीज में हम पैरामेट्रिक है, नॉन पैरामेट्रिक हमने लिया, राइट? See here, now in terms of the assumptions, we discussed that this is based on the assumption. Yes, it is based on the assumption in the parametric. No, it is not based on the assumptions in the non-parametric. When we talk about the central tendency value, central tendency value is that value when you have the mean. ठीक है, जब आपके पास mean हो और mean से आपका central tendency निकलता है, that is one point will be there where it will be central tendency क्या है, right? So हर सैंपल साइज का एक सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी वैल्यू होगी. दैट इज व्हाट in terms of the center tendency value, we will see the mean value in the parametric, where we will see the median value in the non parametric. Okay, so mean value हमारा क्या होता है, parametric में होता है. That's why the ANOVA, because to finding the variance, to finding the standard deviation, there would be a mean. Okay, so that is what the when parametric it is there, then there is a mean value. When non-parametric tests are there you use median value, median. Okay, similarly correlations की बात करेंगे. So Pearson correlation in the parametric test, where we use the Spearman correlation in the non-parametric test. Okay, so Pearson is also in the here. ठीक है, Pearson correlations and Spearman correlations, right? Probabilistic distributions की बात करेंगे तो यहाँ पे normal है, यहाँ पे arbitrary है. Okay, population knowledge here requires, does not require, there is no such distributions, because here it is no assumption, so does not require the population's knowledge. And here in the parametric test it requires the population's knowledge. Okay, and used for interval data and nominal data. This is important and it has been asked on this question, पूछा गया इस पे, तो ये ध्यान रखेंगे. Okay, this is very much important. Interval data is used in the parametric test because here you are finding the mean value, here you are finding the variance, here you are finding the central tendency. There it is, right? The mean value, variance value, standard deviations, right? The normal distribution, the population knowledge is there. So this is what the interval data is, would be there in the parametric test. Okay, where we use in the non-parametric, that is nominal data, right? So scales are there. So scales, that is interval scales, would be used in the parametric, and where the nominal scale would be used in non-parametric. Okay, applicability की बात करें, so variables it in the parametric, and whereas attributes and the variables both in the non-parametric, right? So examples we had discussed that ANOVA, Z-test, T-test, ये सारी चीजें क्या आएगा, parametric में आएगा, where the critical values and the man whitening, all this comes under the non-parametric. Okay, it is all clear. Everybody जल्दी से बताएंगे, little bit knowledge and concept it is clear about the parametric and non-parametric. Everybody? Yes, hope you have understood. रणवीर सिंह, इट इज क्लियर टू यू? चलिए, ओके, चलिए थोड़ा सा एक छोटा सा कॉन्सेप्ट है, यूनिवेरिएट एंड बाइवेरिएट एंड मल्टीवेरिएट कॉन्सेप्ट. इट इज देयर वेरी स्मॉल कॉन्सेप्ट. इट इज, वी विल क्लियर आल्सो दिस कॉन्सेप्ट, राइट? सो यूनिवेरिएट it means what? That is, uni means single, right? Here the uni word means single variable. Okay, so when it summarizes one variable, सिर्फ आप एक वेरिएबल के ऊपर आप रिसर्च करते हो, when you are going to analyze on the one variable particularly, then it is called univariate. Okay, when you are going to analysis on the two variables, that what the association between two variables, what the strength of between two variable, right? How much significant it is between two variable. When you are analyzing between the two variable, that is bivariate. Okay, and when you are analyzing more than two variable, then it is multivariate. This is the only difference. Nothing is the such complexities: univariate, bivariate, and multivariate. Variate, that is variable analysis, right, on the one variable. Variable analysis on the two variables. Variable analysis more than two variables. This is what the difference is among the univariate, bivariate, and multivariate. Okay. So when you conduct a study that looks at the single variable, that study involves the univariate data we have told you. Like for an example, you might study a group of college students to find out their average SAT scores, or you might study a group of diabetic patients to find their weights. अगर आपके पास group of diabetic patients है, group of college students है, so आप अपना एवरेज फाइंड आउट करना चाह रहे हैं, व्हाट द एवरेज इट इज एवरेज ऑफ द वेट, एवरेज ऑफ द परफॉर्मेंस, राइट? So that is one to find the score that is average, right? So that is what you, the variable, it is what the group of college is the single variable, group of the diabetic patient is the single variable. Okay, so this is what here the, when you are analyzing on the single variable, that is univariate. Bivariate, it is when you are studying on the two variables, that is bivariate. Okay, so statistical study of the data where multiple measurements are made on the each experimental unit, where the relationship among the multivariate measurement and structures are important, right? So multivariate में थोड़ा हमारा क्या हो जाता है, that is more than two variables when you are analyzing the variables, right? Whether you're finding the relationship, where you're finding the associations, or where you're finding the significant, right? How much the these two variables are more significant, ठीक है, कितना significant है दोनों variables के बीच में, right? If there are significant associations, significant relations are there or not, that you find between the more than two variables, then it would be called what? Multivariate variables. So there is no such differences. आपको बस यही ध्यान रखना है यूनिवेरिएट, बाइवेरिएट और मल्टीवेरिएट में क्या डिफरेंसेस है, किस चीज को लेकर डिफरेंसेस है, वो आपको ध्यान में रखना है, ठीक है? सो लाइक हियर इट इज वी डिस्कस ना मल्टी स्टेज सैम्पलिंग, राइट? सो मल्टी स्टेज सैम्पलिंग में क्या होता है कि हम तरह तरह के सैम्पलिंग टेक्निक्स को यूज करते हैं, तब वो मल्टी स्टेज सैम्पलिंग होगा. सिमिलरली हियर द मल्टीवेरिएट, इट मींस दैट व्हेन यू आर एनालाइजिंग more than two variables, that is what the multivariate it is called. Okay, so hope this thing is clear ho gaya. Is there any doubt in any of this? And please also this is what the importance, sometimes it is also asked to you, and you will find that who given the t-test किसने दिया, right? ANOVA किसने दिया, ठीक है? ये सारी चीजें भी पूछा जाता है, तो प्लीज आपकी एक लिस्ट बनाइए एंड वी प्रोवाइड यू, राइट? इसका मैं आपको नोट्स प्रोवाइड कर दूंगा. सो इफ देयर इज एनी डाउट एल्स देन दिस, देन प्लीज आस्क. अगर कुछ डाउट है तो पूछिए. और इन द नेक्स्ट बाय द टुडे द रिसर्च, योर रिसर्च यूनिट विल बी कंप्लीटेड. ठीक है, आज आपका रिसर्च यूनिट जो है आपका कंप्लीट हो जाएगा, विल कंप्लीट this unit, the research aptitude as well as communication research. Okay, so we'll start from the Monday onwards the new unit. Okay, दो यूनिट हम स्टार्ट करेंगे and from the Monday onwards. Okay, so don't worry for that. Hope each and everything is understood. ठीक है, चलिए. और one more thing कि आप whenever you finish any video which is on the YouTube, right? Whenever you finish any video which is already on the YouTube, like MCQ classes you are completing, and you are looking over any videos on the YouTube, basically of the official our YouTube channel, so please do comment there, right? Yes, finished. Just write it, not if you are not writing anything else, so just write finished. It means that we will understand that you have finished this video and you have gone through this video, and nothing is there is any doubt to which has make you confused, right? So please write the finished word at least. Okay, so we'll understand that our aspirants has finished this video lecture, particularly video lecture, and you have completed, you have seen. Okay, so in this way we will get an average data that you are finishing this video or not, right? So please write, do comment and there only. Okay, chaliye. So hope you have understood that what I'm trying to tell everybody. Chaliye, all right. So thank you so much. We'll meet in the upcoming classes and we'll finish this unit. Okay, chaliye, all right. Thank you so much. Okay. So very good evening, good morning class. Today's our topic is parametric and non-parametric. What the differences between them? We'll understand here that what the concept of these two. Okay, so understand this when parametric and non-parametric test is applied. Where in this process it comes. So first that is hypothesis. Hypothesis कब होता है? After the objectives or the before the objectives? Everybody जल्दी से बताएंगे. Hypothesis comes under after objectives or the before objectives. Everybody in the steps of the research, you might have gone through these steps of the research. This is after objectives. Yes. So इसके ऊपर भी क्या होता है? Objectives होता है, right? Yes, exactly. Very good. So according to the objectives, we made the hypothesis, and the hypothesis is the two types, that is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. In the study, we take any of these two. Either we test the null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. In the null hypothesis, what we do, we apply the test, right? There is very less use of the test in the alternative. Basically, we use the apply the test in the null hypothesis, right? So null hypothesis is our alternative. Null hypothesis में हमारा hypothesis testing होता है. So hypothesis testing, it means that you are apply the statistical test. So what are the statistical test and which comes under what? That is, it is described by the parametric and non-parametric test, right? So here the use of the parametric and non-parametric concept it is, right? When you are going to use the statistical test in your to test the null hypothesis. Okay. So हमारा पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक होता है. पैरामेट्रिक एंड नॉन पैरामेट्रिक में फिर आपका आता है दैट इज जेड टेस्ट, टी टेस्ट, एफ टेस्ट, एनोवा. Okay. Similarly here in the non-parametric test, the chi-square, U test and H test. Okay. So what here importance as for the exam here, बहुत ही important क्या है यहाँ पे? यहाँ पे they will give you like here the T test. T test is an example of, you have to tell non-parametric or the parametric. So T test is an example of parametric test. Similarly, they will ask you that ANOVA. ANOVA is an example of parametric or non-parametric. So answer would be parametric test. Okay. So you have to remember and memorize the examples of parametric and